In Logic, to create a new project, you just press Command N.
Choose default button. Choose a project. Create an empty project.
And by default, it will want to create an empty project. Now, this does put you at the bottom of the dialog that comes up.
Choose default button.
So I'm going to use VO left arrow to navigate to the Details group.
Cancel button. Open an existing project button. Details group.
And in this Details group, if I interact, you can set things like your tempo, your audio interface that you want to use for your input and output, and things like that. So let's interact with this.
In detail, use musical grid. Checked. Checkbox. 120. Segment 0. Slider.
All right, you see that the tempo is set to 120, so you can interact with this and change the tempo.
Tap tempo button.
You can tap in a tempo by just VO spacing in this field.
C. Charlie. Key signature. Pop-up button.
You can change the key signature of the project.
Major. Selected. Radio button. 1 of 2. Minor. Radio button. 2 of 2.
So you can select major or minor there after selecting the key.
4/4. Scrubber group.
You can set the time signature for the project. It's in 4/4 by default.
Element 88. Audio input. Pop-up button.
That's where you can verify which audio interface you'd like to use in the project.
Element 88. Audio output. Pop-up button. Sample rate.
And you can set the sample rate for the project right there as well.
96. Pop-up button.
All right. Everything else in this window is going to be for video, so I'm just going to stop interacting here.
Audio details. Group.
By default, it will create a blank project, so unless you want to pick from a different template, you don't have to worry about that.
Choose default button.
All right. So I just hit VO-N to jump to the bottom of this window. I'm going to VO space on choose.
Number of tracks.
And now it's going to ask us for the number of tracks, but it's also asking us what type of track we'd like to start. Logic does not let you create a project with no tracks in it, so it's going to prompt you to add a track right away. So if I press VO home to jump to the top of this window.
Software instrument. Radio button. 1 of 6.
You see we can add a software instrument track to the project. Software instrument track is essentially a Midi track. If you want to load up a soft synth and play it with a Midi keyboard, that's the track you're looking for.
Audio. Radio button. 2 of 6.
Audio, that's for recording audio.
Drummer. Radio button. 3 of 6.
Drummer is a track type that is only found in Logic, and it's because there is a soft synth known as Drummer, which you can use to program very realistic drum parts.
External MIDI. Radio button. 4 of 6.
External MIDI is a track type you want to select if you have external MIDI hardware that you want to trigger with MIDI from inside of Logic.
Guitar or bass. Selected. Radio button. 5 of 6.
And guitar or bass is essentially just going to be a audio track with an instance of Amp Designer with a Logic's guitar amp emulator preloaded on the track for you. And you see guitar or bass is what's selected. So if you want to select any other track type, let's say we want to do just a regular audio track.
External drum audio. Radio button. 2 of 6. 1. Content selected. Edit text.
And now it puts us back at the bottom of the window where we can select the number of tracks. If you want more than one audio track, you can change the value here. Also,
number of tracks. Button. Details. Group.
If you interact with this details group, you can set a lot of the same parameters we set on the previous window, as well as you can set what input on your audio interface this will default to.
Button. Number of tracks. 1. Content selected. Edit text.
All right, and then I can just hit VO-N to get to the create button.
Create default button.
VO space on that.
Tracks contents. Group. Closing dialog.
And now we have a project created with a single track. So because it didn't prompt you to save it when it was created in a project, if you want to save this project, hit Command S.
Project 1 Logics. Content selected. Save as. Edit text.
And let's give this a name.
Selection A W DA COMPARISON.
And now I'm just going to use VO right arrow to navigate for this window.
Tags. Tags. Tag at back. Dimmed. Forward. Dimmed. Button. Group. Menu button.
You see this is a pretty standard save dialog for macOS.
New folder button.
So you can select if you want to create a new folder.
Logic. Where. Pop-up button.
By default, it's going to be saved in your Logic folder in the music folder inside of your home folder.
Show less options. Expanded. Disclosure triangle. Search text field. Blank. Sidebar. Table. No selection. Vertical splitter. Column view. Browser one item. Copy the following files into your project.
All right. So this was what I wanted to get to. This is where you can select what is saved in your project. The one you really got to make sure is checked.
Audio files. Checked. Checkbox.
Is audio files. The rest of these.
Sampler audio data. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Don't necessarily need to be checked.
Alchemy audio data. Ultrabeat audio data. Space Designer Impulse movie file. Unchecked. Include Apple Sound library content. Organize my project as a.
All right. So the next one is organize my project as, and you can choose a package file, which basically keeps your entire project as one file. That means if you need to send it to someone, you just need to copy that one file and paste it, and it has all your project data wrapped up in there.
Package selected. Radio button. 1 of 2.
And that's the option that's selected by default. I recommend just leaving it unpackaged.
Folder, radio button, 2 of 2. New folder button.
That's if you want to create a new folder to save this project in. We don't need to do that, so we'll just keep navigating to the save button.
Cancel button, save button.
There we go, VO space.
Now in, dot comparison, tracks, window, tracks contents, group,